Welcome back to the program. Progressive activists have been calling on Governor Sandoval to expand Medicaid to cover more low-income Nevadans. Governor Sandoval heeded the call and this week announced he would expand it. But he wants Medicaid recipients to help foot the bill. Joining us now to talk about that, the Executive Director of the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, Bob Fulkerson. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. So, as I mentioned, Governor Sandoval is actually the first Republican governor in the country to say, yes, I'm going to accept this expansion of Medicaid under Obamacare. It's something that your group has been calling on him to do. He's Republican. You've clashed with him before. Were you surprised by his decision?
Yes. We were surprised, but we were elated. And, you know, with that surprise and that elation goes a lot of credit for the governor for bucking people in his party and for coming out with such a humane and economically wise decision. I mean, you know, he deserves a huge amount of applause for that.
Why would you be surprised that Brian Sandoval would come out with a humane and wise decision?
Well, for the same reason we were surprised that he vetoed a bill that would have provided breakfast for hungry kids in our state. Nevada is 53rd in providing breakfast for hungry kids. He vetoed that bill. So, you know, to provide Medicaid to the poorest of the poor, we were surprised because it's kind of a flip of that philosophy.
Yeah, he's been on both sides of the issue, I guess, when it comes to. He's not that much of an ideological governor, though. Would you agree that he's more pragmatic, or do you see him as being an ideologue?
I don't see him being an ideologue at all. I mean, on one hand, on social issues, signing in bills that extended transgender equality to individuals in our state was phenomenal. On the other hand, his anti-tax positions and some of his positions with respect to restoring the voting franchise to former inmates who have paid their dues to society, very disappointing. So he is on, you know, he's unpredictable.
So while he did expand Medicaid, he did what maybe you would expect out of a Republican governor, and has proposed that Medicaid recipients, again, these are people that are up to 138% now of poverty, or 133% of poverty, pay a small copay when they go to the doctor to help foot the bill for the expansion costs and for Medicaid costs in general. Is this a wise move?
Well, it's just a little ironic when you talk about shared responsibility and you want the poorest of the poor who are broke, who are on Medicaid because they have no money, to ask them to chip in when you're allowing the mining industry to get a free ride here, when corporations like Barrick can get land worth $9 billion for $5 an acre, and he wants to let them skate, but he wants to make poor people, you know, chip in a little bit. It's just a little bit inconsistent.
Well, why am I surprised that you segued to mining there? So, but there's only 2 states in the nation who charge copays to Medicaid patients. Do you see Nevada becoming the 3rd?
No. I think, for one thing, it would require, I'm pretty sure it would require a waiver from the federal government. For the other reason, it's just not going to be that much of a. I mean, even like, I don't see us making a lot of money from that. We need to get money from the people who have it. I mean, the poor people in Nevada pay 10% of their income in taxes. Guess how much the wealthy pay? About 1.5% of their income in taxes. So let's go after the people that are robbing the state blind first. The corporations like Walmart that don't pay any corporate taxes. You know, the mining industry that pay an effective tax rate of 1%. You know, let's go after them first. And our default position is soak the poor. Let's get away from that.
Now, I mean, you've been banging your head on the wall on this issue for session after session after session. Even with Democrats, Democrats that you support have refused to pass tax increases. And you've been around the budget for a long time. Expanding Medicaid, while it's going to not cost the state as much for the first 4 years, starting in 2017-2018, this is going to be a $200 million biennium bill for the state to provide this Medicaid expansion. Can the state's budget afford that?
Well, that's why we need to take a look at our revenue system. I mean, right now it's a broken system. We, you know, 2/3 is reliant on sales and gaming tax. We have no corporate profits tax, and we need to, we need to look at that. If we could enact some kind of a new broad-based tax, I mean, certainly the education initiative is a good thing to embrace. Then we could afford some basic public services and public infrastructure to safeguard the health of our workforce that builds a stronger economy.
I want to segue to a different issue that came up this month, and that Secretary of State Ross Miller has come out with this proposal to allow poll workers to check a driver's license photo with an electronic poll book. So not, here's my driver's license, can I vote, but all right, this picture matches this person. You have been critical of that. Is this a wise decision on the part of Ross Miller?
Really, we were very surprised by it. I mean, our Secretary of State has led the country in things like the Aurora Project, transparency and campaign financing. He, allowed and pioneered the whole online voter registration. One thing Nevada doesn't, we suck at a lot of things, but one thing that we're really good at is voting, and that in large part to Ross's leadership on that. So to come out with a proposal that addresses a non-existent problem for what we think is a very high price when we're not, when we could spend that money on education, very taken aback by it.
Were you disappointed in him? Do you think this will hurt him going forward? He's going to pursue higher office.
Yeah, I think it is going to hurt him going forward. And yes, we were disappointed, but I think that if the idea that we need to modernize the system, and I mean, during early voting, I can go across town and vote because it's computerized. Why can't we just simply do that on election day and have election day registration as well?
That might be the next step. Well, thank you. We've run out of time for the segment, but I really appreciate you being here. It's been a fun interview.
Thanks.
And we'll be right back.